Hello and welcome to my oral presentation for the Sustainable Prospects module with Falmouth University. During this module I have been considering my place within contemporary photographic practice. Although my main focus outside of my technical day job is music and music photography, I also have experience in commercial photography such as weddings, product photography, copylighting photography for artwork archives and documenting events and staff and learner profile images for the Grimsby Institute. As my work is so varied, I feel I have only really begun to explore my niche since starting the MA course. I have never really utilised the world of social media to my advantage. Since undertaking this module, I have begun to look at my activity on forums such as Instagram and Twitter to see how they can benefit my work and reach a wider audience with my photography. Although I toyed with the idea of creating an Instagram account solely for my photography, I decided to tweak the account I currently had. As my account was private, I opened my account publicly and began to use hashtags on my images. This had a huge impact and my following increased immediately. I felt this had a huge benefit and opened up my work to audiences I had currently been closed to. I have even received messages and requests from musicians since opening up my account, some of which are bands I have followed since my teens. I found this incredibly exciting and a real boost for my research project. When reviewing the work produced for my first module, Positions and Practice, I can already see how my ideas have grown and the subject matter has progressed from my project proposal. My initial ideas were to explore the worlds of subculture, style, fashion and music, to contextualise their importance and their place in modern society, and to explore their vibrant history and the ethical and moral value systems which support the visually stimulating presence of countercultures. I've been connecting with musicians and discussing how, if at all, music is present within home life, how it is incorporated within daily family life, and if their children are as passionate about music or the visual culture of music. Originally, I wanted my work to progress across a range of subcultural styles and genres. Now, being so aware of how fast the course is progressing and the sheer volume of information, research and networking required to achieve this, I have decided to concentrate on the movement of punk rock. I feel I can support my project more effectively and efficiently using the contacts I have made within the last two modules, and by concentrating on the individuals I have set for the next semester. As this is also a movement which is very close to my heart, I feel I have the passion and motivation to carry the project forward and to follow my original intentions to produce a photographic book. Oscar-nominated filmmaker Wim Wenders was an avid user of Polaroid film from the early 1970s. Using the medium to shoot locations as a pre-visualisation of his movie shoots, he used Polaroids as a visual notebook, testing frames, lighting and ideas he had. He openly admits he was addicted to the Polaroid medium. In his book, Instant Stories, he combines over 200 images, portraits of cast and crew, behind-the-scenes shots, still life, street photography and landscapes. He sees the collection as a storybook rather than a photo book. He sees meaning not in the images themselves, rather the stories that led to their creation. I really admire the work of Wenders and his approach and outlook on instant photography. His Polaroids are certainly unique, and the way he verbalises the one-of-a-kind nature of his images deeply resonates with me. Wender refers to his prints as singular moments, moments which cannot be replicated or altered, and I see my work in the same light. I admire his belief in the art form of the imperfect image. In a world of pristine digital photography, I find it refreshing to look back on the memories and poetic moments from another artist. I find Polaroids extremely personal, as did Wenders, who openly admits he feels that the individuals in his portraits had more right to own the image than him due to their personal nature. Romantic, poetic, beautiful and nostalgic, Wenders' work is a delight to view. His book Instant Stories is an inspiration to my research project both in layout and in content. The use of annotation on the images and personal stories typed to support the images is something I personally would love to achieve. There is something very romantic about the concept of a singular moment and its encapsulation using instant film for me. I adore the idea of every image being unique, and I agree with Wenders here that the notion of sacredness and the importance of singular moments is seemingly unimportant in today's society. Everything happens so fast and the world seems so impatient. It is important to capture the close, personal, unnoticed moments, as Wenders realised when he rediscovered his 1970s images in his back catalogue before their release. It is incredible to think, had they not been found, they could have been lost in time. The work of Jim Goldberg is, in itself, pure narrative. A classified landmark photographer, he explores and experiments with storytelling. He uses a variety of mediums in the production of his works: photographs, text, home movies, stills, snapshots, drawings, diary entries, sculptures, light boxes and objects. I personally find the incorporation of scruffy handwritten text particularly striking when placed amongst his Polaroids, blurry 35mm images, negative contact sheets and imperfect illustrations. His stylings are very close to the subculture of punk rock and the visual aesthetics of the DIY punk scene. The scrappy, imperfect writings and the use of Xerox photocopies are reminiscent of punk flyers and fanzines of the 1980s, and the use he photographs certainly fall into the realms of subcultural movements. Far removed from the beautiful, simplistic stylings of vendors, Goldberg explores a much darker subject matter. His work, Raised by Wolves, documenting the life of LA runaway teens, is a great example of this. To me, Goldberg uses the Polaroid medium in particular to convey a gritty realism within the moments he captures. Unlike the images of family or positive memories one would wish to depict, he captures moments of desperation, poverty, destitution and hopelessness, telling the stories of outcast teens who were disregarded by family and mainstream society. In this 1989 shot, Dave at McDonald's, the words supporting the image are poetic, almost lyrical. Reading them sends my imagination searching for the tune, and I feel a connection to music, particularly punk rock, due to the style donned by the individuals in the image: torn denim, beanie hats, and a general lack of consideration of the mainstream values surrounding them on the street. I find his 1986 to 1992 Polaroid set particularly exciting visually. I felt his technique and style would really suit portraits or shots taken of fans at live shows and at home, as they can be laid out to document a story and narrative without relying on text for structure. I admire the experimental and creative approach to Goldberg's work. Although there are techniques and styles within his body of work which I would like to experiment with myself, I am conscious of the need to open my work to new audiences. During this module in particular, I have begun to consider where I need to be and who I want my work to appeal to, so the need to keep on track with a visual style that is not overly niche is something I must remain vigilant with. I've tried to keep the use of effects to as subtle a standard within this portfolio due to the nature of its content and focusing more on the connotations of family life and music. I did not want to overcomplicate the images or lose any of the messages contained within by blurring or over-processing them, making the information unavailable to the viewer. At the beginning of this module, I was unsure if I would continue with this medium. Over the module break, I had toyed with the idea of moving to digital images. Following the great feedback I received from the band The Atoms from the last module, and from the opinions of the band Not Tonight and the Headaches featuring within these images, I decided to continue with Instax Film. Not Tonight and the Headaches are a Grimsby band who categorise themselves within the pop-punk genre. They not only write and record their own music, but put on shows, promote and run a local practice place to support fellow musicians. The reason I chose this band in particular is because they are a very eclectic bunch with completely different lifestyles and professions. This project has aided me to delve into their lifestyles, musical tastes, family life, careers and their aspirations. My main ambition for this project is to open up the subculture of punk rock to younger generations and new audiences. I would like viewers to discover a new approach to music culture and hopefully gain a deeper understanding of musicians' personal lives. My approach is to depict music culture in everyday scenarios and show how members of this deep-rooted culture incorporate family, employment and their passion for music. Musicians, the enthusiasts and the industry professionals I will be shooting are my primary target audience from a professional photography business standpoint. My secondary audience being youths, music fans and those with an active interest in music culture and subcultures. I will also have a tertiary audience of artists, particularly within my local community, and the audience for my exhibition and book launch. My ambition for the end of this course remains to produce a photographic book. Over the module break, I intend to set up another round of photo shoots, this time following mothers within the punk rock community. I have already made contact with 3 mothers, all with different professions, parenting styles and experiences to share. They will also be interviewed and the content will follow the same format as I have used for this module, using the set as a means of narrative to explain their stories and show personal moments within their home environments. I also wish to build my profile on social media and continue making new contacts within the industry to further my project and the resources available. Thank you for listening.